My name is Jake, I'm 29 years old, and 3 months ago I went on a hike I never should have gone on. I was going through serious burnout at work. Programmer, always glued to the screen, never leaving the house. My girlfriend had broken up with me 2 months earlier, saying I was an emotional zombie. She wasn't wrong. I decided I needed to disconnect. Literally. 3 days alone on a trail in Utah. No phone, no internet, no people. Just me and nature. The trail was moderate, about 25 miles total. I had experience. I'd camped before with my dad when I was younger. I got to the parking lot Friday morning, adjusted my backpack that weighed about 35 pounds and started climbing. The first few miles were peaceful. Beautiful scenery, fresh air, total silence. It was exactly what I needed. I even smiled for the first time in weeks. Late afternoon, I set up camp near a stream that made a relaxing sound. I was setting up my tent, hammering the stakes into the ground, when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned startled and saw a man around 50 years old, gray hair, faded green cap, friendly smile. He introduced himself. Jake? I'm David, trail volunteer guide. I kind of froze. How did he know my name? He must have noticed my confusion because he laughed and said, "Saw your name on the register list down there. We always check who's coming up." Made sense. I had signed the logbook at the entrance. David said he was checking if I had everything I needed. Water, food, first aid kit. Offered tips about the trail, gave me an extra water bottle, even offered some protein bars. I thanked him but found it weird. Volunteer guides don't usually track down every hiker. But he seemed like a good guy. We talked for a few minutes and he left. Disappeared down the trail without making a sound, which I also found strange. On the second day, things got really strange. I was hiking about 5 miles in when I found a water bottle in the middle of the path. Left right in the center, impossible to miss. There was a note taped to it, "You're gonna need this. D." I thought it was bizarre, but I was thirsty and my second bottle was almost empty, so I drank it. The water was ice cold, like it had just come out of a fridge. 3 miles later, there was a granola bar on top of a rock. Another note, "Eat something. You're burning energy. D." Now I was officially creeped out. How did he know where I was going to be? How did he get there before me? I hadn't seen anyone pass me. I set up camp earlier that day. I was starting the fire when David showed up again. Out of nowhere. No warning. This time he sat next to me without asking. Started talking. And that's when everything fell apart. He said my full name. Jake Morrison. Said I lived in Salt Lake City. That I worked in IT. Even mentioned I'd moved into my current apartment 6 months ago. Things that weren't on any register. I asked, trying to stay calm, "How do you know all that?" He shrugged. "Small town. Everyone knows everyone." But I wasn't from that area. I'd never been to Utah before. Before I could question further, he changed the subject. Looked at the fire and said seriously, "Jake, I didn't want to freak you out, but there's been weird stuff happening on this trail lately. People disappearing without a trace. Equipment abandoned in the middle of nowhere. I've seen things that don't make sense." He stared at me. "If I were you, I'd cut this short and head back tomorrow morning. Seriously. Don't stay another night. There's something wrong with this area." The way he said it seemed genuine. Seemed concerned. But everything about him was wrong. I said I'd think about it. David nodded and vanished into the darkness. Didn't hear footsteps. Nothing. I barely slept that night. On the third day, I decided to follow his advice. I was heading back early. But halfway down, I stopped at a rest area to drink water. And that's when I saw it. A memorial plaque nailed to a tree. In memory of David Chin. Volunteer guide. Died in an accident on this trail, September 2022. There was a photo. It was him. The man I met. Exactly him. My stomach turned. I dropped my backpack and ran. Didn't stop to think. Just ran. About a mile later, I tripped on a root and twisted my ankle. The pain was unbearable. I fell and screamed. I was alone, no signal, in the middle of the forest. And that's when I heard his voice behind me, calm and soft. "Let me help you, Jake. You're hurt." I turned and he was there. Standing about 10 feet away. Hands in pockets. Smiling. I screamed, "You're dead. I saw the plaque. You died 2 years ago." He tilted his head and said with disturbing calmness, "I know, Jake. I know I died. But you're not dead. Not yet." Those last 2 words echoed in my head. I dragged myself across the ground, ignoring the pain, until I managed to use a tree to pull myself up. He just stood there watching. Didn't approach. Just watched while I limped away as fast as I could. It took almost 2 hours to reach the parking lot. Every step was agony. But I didn't stop. When I finally saw my car, I almost cried. I got in, locked all the doors and sat there breathing heavily. Then I looked in the rearview mirror and froze. David was standing at the trailhead, looking directly at my car. And next to him, 3 other silhouettes, all standing still, all watching me. They raised their hands and waved, slowly, together, like they were saying goodbye, or inviting me back. I started the car with trembling hands, hit the gas and never went back. To this day my ankle hurts when it's going to rain. And every time I feel the pain, I remember that wave. My name is Eric, I'm 32 years old, and what happened to me in Montana 2 weeks ago still keeps me up every single night. I was going through a really difficult time. Recent divorce, stressful job I hated, life falling apart. My friends told me to get therapy, but I thought I knew what I needed. Solitude. Nature. I decided to go camping alone. Reset my head. I picked a remote area I found on an obscure forum about wilderness camping. The kind of place almost nobody goes because there's no infrastructure. No marked trails, no bathrooms, no other campers. I drove for hours. The last half hour was on a horrible dirt road full of potholes. When I stopped and turned off the engine, the silence was absolute. I got out and saw an old faded sign nailed to a tree, "Do not camp here, park order." The paint was peeling. I figured it was old. I ignored it. The clearing was perfect. Tall trees around, flat ground, total silence. I started setting up my tent. And that's when I noticed it. In the center of the clearing there was a circle of stones. About 10 feet across. Perfectly spaced. Inside the circle, strange symbols scratched deep into the dirt. They weren't letters. They were geometric shapes, connected lines, things I'd never seen before. I went closer. Near the stone circle, there were remains of a campfire. The ashes were still warm when I put my hand near them. That didn't make sense. The area should be empty. I walked around and saw a backpack hanging on a tree branch. Old, dirty, but still intact. I opened it. Inside was a map with a red X marking exactly where I was now. My stomach churned, but I tried to rationalize. Someone camped here before and forgot their backpack. I set up my tent far from the stone circle. I didn't want to camp near those symbols. I started a fire, ate, and went to bed early. I was exhausted. I woke up abruptly at 1 in the morning. Something was wrong. I lay there in the dark, completely still, listening. And then I heard it. Murmurs. Not normal voices. It was like low chanting. Rhythmic. Repetitive. Coming from multiple directions at once. Like multiple people were surrounding me. My heart raced. I turned on my flashlight and pointed it outside. Nothing. The murmurs stopped instantly. Total silence. I turned off the light. And exactly 30 seconds later they came back. Louder. Closer. I stayed frozen until they eventually stopped. I couldn't sleep after that. At 3 a.m. it started again. But different. Stone against stone. Knock knock, knock knock, knock knock. The sound echoed through the forest. It started far away and got closer, forming a rhythm. The knocking came from several points around me. Like multiple people were hitting stones at the same time, circling my tent. I yelled, "Who's there? I know someone's there." The knocking stopped for about 10 seconds. Then started again. Faster. Louder. Closer. I grabbed my knife and yelled I was calling the police. The knocking finally stopped. But I knew. Multiple people were out there. I waited for dawn without sleeping. When the sun came up, I slowly looked outside. What I saw made me want to throw up. Around my tent were 7 small piles of ash. Perfectly spaced. Like 7 people had made campfires surrounding me during the night. But I didn't see fire. Didn't smell smoke. Didn't see light. And worse, the backpack from the tree was now inside my tent. Right next to my sleeping bag. I didn't put it there. Someone entered while I was inside. With trembling hands I opened it. Inside was my keychain. The one my ex-wife gave me years ago. I had buried it in my backpack and forgotten about it. But now it was here. In the strange backpack. Tied with thin rope. The same rope from the stone circle. Hanging from it was a paper tag. I flipped it. On one side the same symbol from the ground. On the other, written in shaky handwriting, "You have been marked. Leave before nightfall. Don't stay." I didn't wait. I threw everything in the car and got out of there, speeding down the dirt road. I only stopped an hour later to breathe. I looked in the back seat. My original backpack was there. I searched for the keychain. It was gone. Completely disappeared. To this day I don't know who those people were. I don't know what they wanted. But I know one thing. I was marked. And I got out in time. At least I hope I did. Sometimes late at night I wake up sweating, thinking I hear those stone knockings. Knock knock, Knock knock. And I wonder if they're still looking for me. Those were the two stories I wanted to share with you today. Jake's and Eric's. Two people who went into nature looking for peace and found something they can't explain. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not knowing who was there. Not knowing what they wanted. Just feeling with absolute certainty that you weren't alone. If you enjoyed these stories, drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel for more horror content like this. And tell me in the comments, have you ever camped alone and felt like you were being watched? I read every comment. And remember, sometimes nature isn't the most dangerous place. It's the things that hide in it, the things that wait, the things that mark you.